My name is Leisa Peterson. Welcome to the Art of Abundance podcast. Today I'm sharing a very special guest. His name is Lincoln. He goes by Channel of Higher Self, and he has a YouTube channel, a website, and he's someone who really helped me during some difficult times from afar through his YouTube channel. I was enamored by his work and eventually met with him, and now I'm bringing you a 5-part series of a conversation that we had that touches on many different aspects of awakening, of self-realization, of being able to heal from traumatic, challenges that unfortunately are coming up in the world a lot as of late. We also talk about money and abundance in a way that was deeply profound for me. I think that you'll really enjoy our conversation. And today is part 1. I hope you enjoy. Lincoln, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you accepting my request to come and be a part of the Art of Abundance show.
Yeah, you're welcome, Lisa. Yeah, thank you for having me. And I know today will be a very enjoyable conversation.
Lovely. You helped me a great deal in so many ways. And I don't know that you know this, but I want to share that I was witness to a shooting several years ago. And when that happened, and the night I came back from the shooting, I was in shock. And I think I had already known about your videos and watched them before. But I remember that that was a huge source of assistance to me with the PTSD that I was feeling as a result. And I will say that all of us, with the tragedies that occur in the world, do suffer from PTSD, even if we aren't in that event. And I'm guessing that, it's just amazing the things that you do in your videos. You have over 20,000 subscribers. I know that you're making a huge impact in the world, even if people don't come to you one-on-one, which is what I have done a few times. So I'd love it if you could talk just about how did you come to this work? And maybe we start there. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I can do that for you. First, I'd just like to, say how unfortunate it is that there still are acts of violence like that in the world. And I'm sorry that you had to experience that, because it does create a deep impression in our mind and often in our physical nervous system. And sometimes it can be difficult trying to remove that impression. And it's nothing that we want to do with our conscious will. Like, we don't want to keep remembering it. We don't want to keep feeling it, but the physical body holds it and brings it up because in many ways it was a threat to the physical survival. And the body, it's on alert now. It's something very powerful has happened, something that threatened our own physical body's life. And the physical body is doing its job, trying to protect us, trying to keep us aware. And so when people have these experiences, like, unfortunately what recently happened in Las Vegas, they're going to carry these impressions in their body until they learn how to allow them, until they learn how to find peace with the body having its survival experience, and then also, of course, find ways to continue to move forward. Because ultimately we are the consciousness having the body and able to bring change into the body. Just like the world brought an impression into the body, our soul can bring an impression into the body. And that's how we make the change. So I think this is really a beautiful segue into our talk today, and something I totally didn't expect. But I think it's wonderful because it talks about the reality of being human. And so often in spirituality, we're trying to not be human. We're trying to escape from the world. We're trying to forget about our financial problems, our family problems, the stress of having a husband or a wife or raising children or having a job that we have to show up with 5 days a week. We're often trying to escape, but we don't realize that, at least we're learning to realize, I should say, that the purpose for us being here is to bring our soul into this human world and into this reality. I was really blessed to have an amazing teacher early in my life, and his name was Yananda Korshom. And he has a website, although he has passed on, called yananda.net, and it's spelled JANANDA.net. And this is a really beautiful man, one of the most amazing human beings I've met in my journey here, a genuine, multidimensional human being. And one thing he taught was that the ascension is really us coming into this world. We're ascending into this world. We're not trying to ascend out of it to be in other dimensions and be with ascended masters and these, non-physical beings. We're actually here because our soul chose to come here. And the challenges that we face in our lives with our emotions and our mind are really the barriers between getting our soul into this world, because the world's difficult and there is stress, there is challenge, and it's so much easier just to stay back and away from it, to be that yogi on the mountaintop looking down at the city at a distance saying, thank God I'm not in that mess. But really inside that mess is where we find the beauty of God. Because as you know, there's so much beauty that comes through being with your children, right? Being with your partner, working with other human beings, going through these difficult areas and then seeing the flowering of awakening and the bliss and happiness and freedom from that expansion. And that's something I think my videos have always tried to do, is to address people and support them wherever they're at in their life. There's no concepts and teaching saying the world's bad and wrong and you're not supposed to be here and go meditate for 6 hours a day and try to get out of this place because it's reincarnation and you don't want to have it happen. My videos are very different. They'll say life is perfect and try to see it, because if our soul can bring that understanding into this human reality, we can start to shift all those traumatic impressions we've had. Because the trauma, even growing up as a child in a world, if you think about it, we come into this world, we don't understand anything about it. We're a young child that has no learned experiences yet. Everything is bright and loud and colorful, and we feel extremely powerfully. That's our language system, is emotion. The mind's trying to understand, what am I feeling? What's happening around me? We're trying to develop a structure of language in our mind to put together all these experiences we're having. And so we're having the emotions of different people and reactions from our parents, and we don't know what the world is. And we're going to have these big impressions. And then we spend the rest of our lives living inside of these systems of conditioning. And we don't maybe know why we're the way we are, why our personality has these interests or these difficulties. But it all comes down to the body receiving impressions, the brain, the nervous system receiving impressions, and then our soul awakening inside the body to then be able to consciously create. And so the body essentially has resistance, right? Anytime there's something uncomfortable, you eat a bad piece of food, like a rotten piece of food, and your body wants to spit it out, right? Well, there's emotional resistance to bad feelings, and it's natural. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to have certain emotions. And sometimes we feel guilt, like, oh, I don't want to have this. It's like, no, the body says, I don't like fear, right? I don't like anxiety. It's not bad or wrong to have fear or anxiety, but it's the body saying, don't go there in your life. Let's go somewhere else where there's expansion and happiness rather than contraction. And then so our soul can bring in an understanding that allows us to have any experience by realizing life is perfect. I don't have to, from a soul level state, resist. I can let my body say, I don't want to go there. I don't like how that feels. But our mind can say, but you know what? It's okay that that exists. It's okay that there's, sardines that I don't want to eat. And it's okay that I don't want to feel fear. I don't have to condemn it. I don't have to push people away who have it. I can just say, I'm going to allow it, but I'm not going to choose it. So we start from that place, and then our life opens up in a remarkable way. Because you're a coach, right? And what people often bring to you are the things they're struggling with. And usually there's an attitude that I just want to get rid of it. And we can feel the emotion push it away. But as you know, the learning, the lesson, and the growth is inside that which you're pushing away. So you got to let it come to you. Right? You got to be aware, be awake, be open for it, and realize, wow, this is what I'm experiencing. There's something in here that I've yet to learn. And then in that transformation, by embracing our challenges, a breakthrough happens, that flowering happens. The actual difficult area opens up. And the gift is inside of that. And that's our awakening.
I love it so much. I was giving a talk yesterday about that experience from being inside of it and then coming out of it. I'm curious, meditation has been such a big part of my journey, and I started doing it in 1999. And actually, my parents tried to get me to do it when I was a kid. They were into TM. And unfortunately, they were like, go meditate. And it was like a penalty when I was being bad. So I had some baggage about meditation, but eventually I came to it. And I'm curious, how does meditation play into your life, your practice? Did it have anything to do with this awakening in the channeling?
Well, first, I think that meditation is one of the best things that we can do. But we also have to be very clear, like you shared, why we're meditating, right? If we meditate because we think, the guru told us, or the book told us, or our parents, in your case, told us, we're not going to be able to go into it in the right way, right? We're going to bring to it that resistance, that baggage, like you said. And it's not our fault that we've been introduced to meditation that way, right? The world gave us our learning. We have to then work with that, right? But my experience is when we approach meditation with the understanding that I'm trying to realize more of who I am right now. Right? It's not about going somewhere else. It's not about fixing our problems, right? Problems will get fixed, right? But meditation is really a time to get to know who we are as awareness, right? To stop all the doing out there and to just begin being as myself in the most simplest of ways. And in that experience, we really allow the mind to empty itself. Right? So the more we do, the more we fill the mind, the more we create emotional feelings in the body, the more noise there becomes in the experiences of perception. And so when the mind is louder or the emotions are louder, it's harder to perceive that very still, silent, empty space of our consciousness. So, yeah. so there's many ways to meditate, right? We can visualize, we can do mantra. For myself, I don't consider those the same as like an awareness meditation. The act is different, how we're showing up is different, the purpose is different. For me, meditation means being in that state of awareness. Now, myself, I practiced it a lot. I studied it to really understand the nuances of it. And right now in my life, I'm in that state of awareness all the time. So if I hear a thought or I feel an emotion, I'm not consumed by it. I'm not experiencing myself living inside of it. I feel it living inside of me. Right? So I'm like the fish tank, right? The fish bowl, and then a thought appears or an emotion appears, and that's like the fish making waves in the water. And it's like, there it is. Right? I'm not the water getting thrown around. Right? I'm not the fish panicking, darting around the tank. I'm the stillness, the solidness, that stable container in which the world is moving. And that's our consciousness. Right? As you know, when you go into that place, you feel empty and yet fully aware. You feel filled up with the forms of life, but you're not moving with the forms of life. Right? The forms are moving inside of you, and there's a freedom in that experience while you're still intimately connected to that experience.
Mm-hmm. As you describe this, what comes to me, and it's making so much sense, is that I'm not doing what you're talking about all the time, first of all. However,
none of us are perfect. I don't want to give the illusion that I'm sitting there on a golden throne. Definitely not. In the world too, we all have thoughts. We all have feelings. We do our best with them.
But one of the reasons I think I love coaching so much is that when I'm in that space in service of others, it's exactly what's happening. Completely. And so it's, maybe it's like those are the training wheels, because I notice that the more I do it, the more, I've been doing this coaching for a few years now, and I spend so much time in these states of open consciousness as I'm in service of others. then, and also in group classes when I'm guiding meditations, asking, giving them inquiry, it's like it starts to extend. So the space between the gaps of one session to another start to diminish, and
Mhm.
I have greater awareness even when I'm outside of those coaching sessions. What comes
Yeah,
up for you?
definitely. Yeah, so I think there's really two important things to look at. And one piece you already know, right? When you're in an act of service, there is this flow of higher consciousness that comes through you because you're living your soul's path. You've now become part of the greater universe. You're living in harmony with God's will. These are all similar statements for the the recognition of the same type of experience. And it's that we are living now as something greater than our personal self. Right? You're connecting into your clients and bringing through knowledge and energy and higher consciousness. And higher consciousness is actually like a substance. Right? We feel when we're connected to our higher self. We feel when we're in the zone. Right? It's actually something we recognize. That means it's a form. It's a very subtle form. It's a higher quality of our mind, right? It's associated with higher chakras, if people understand the chakra theory. It's a subtler vibration. So it can be very difficult to recognize because it is so subtle in nature. But as you know, you can feel it. You can feel it fill your conscious awareness. You can feel it sometimes come through your body. Sometimes your emotions as a happiness and a bliss, your body as a type of surrender and a peace, like an innate deep sense of trust, right? Because that's the body's deepest karma, the root chakra, trust, survival, feeling at peace in the moment. And in the mind, it comes through as intuition, knowledge. Sometimes we surprise ourselves by the things we say. I often do that. I hear things come out of my mouth and I say, wow, that's pretty remarkable, Lincoln. Like, I never read it. I never even thought it myself. It's not my idea. The universe wanted me to say this. I don't know where it's coming from. It's coming through me, but it's coming from something greater than me. And I'm blessed to be able to be that channel for it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When did that start to happen for you, where you were like, what's going on?
Uh, well, I had a very interesting childhood, and some of it might seem like unremarkable, like kind of normal, but when you tie it all together, it kind of makes sense. When I was young, we didn't watch much television. My mom had a rule, and it was I just remembered something funny. It was you could only watch TV like 1 hour a week. And we had like a video game system, like back in the beginning of days of Nintendo and that, and Atari, and where you could only play like 30 minutes on the weekend, and that was it. And most kids, they were playing, 6 hours a day, and that's all they wanted to do. And look where that whole technology's gotten now. It's just amazing how massive it is. So my mom was very much into trying to raise the perfect child. And why I laughed is she had a book called Raising PG Kids in an X-Rated Society. I think it was by Tipper Gore. I think it was Al
Oh,
Gore's wife, or
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the woman who I know is a vice president's wife. And so we used to make fun of that book, kind of joke with it, like, "Oh, mom," because we were always having fun, and it was a very lighthearted family. But yet, there were strict guidelines for my mom that my mom imposed to try to help us be raised well. So as a young child, one of the things we did together was watch X-Files. It was like a clean television show, paranormal, and it was very
Loved
interesting.
it.
Yeah. So I don't know, 8 or 10 years old, and I'm being introduced to the understanding that there's more out there, right? And like psychic things and like weird experiences that are unexplainable. So as a young child, I was thinking, wow, that's really cool. I want to work for the FBI and investigate these things. So there was an opening in regular society to something greater than what most people realize. And in a child's mind, that creates an impression. So that when I'm first introduced to things like other dimensions or energies, there's already been an opening.
Mm.
I didn't read my first spiritual book till I was 18. I was raised in a Roman Catholic family, and I did the whole confirmation thing and all of that. But I didn't really get exposed to Eastern religions or meditation or metaphysical things until I graduated from high school. It was actually the first day after my graduation from high school when I was given my first book on spirituality. And it just happened because I was bored. I didn't really know what else to do. My job didn't start full time yet. And my mom said, here, why don't you look at my bookshelf? And she had already begun her journey of awakening years before I did. And so I had a book in my hand, and I remember resisting all the books, saying, Mom, I don't like this stuff. I already know what I need to know about my life. It's not for me. It seemed, more displaced fantasy, those kinds of things. And I picked up one book, which was actually Carlos Castaneda's first book. And it had a grounding in reality. And it was very fascinating. And here's a man who has wisdom of other things and about the human mind, which I loved. Because when I was 13, I was already understanding psychology and putting that into my life. And actually, I chose to major in that. And so this book came into my life and started to show me more of the possibilities of reality, and start to question things and start to really be aware. And I could understand the concepts he was saying. I thought, wow, these are really wise. I've never come across these in any of my schooling and any of parts of society. So I started to read those books. And they're really the first books I read in my life. And then I, of course, found books on meditation and wanted to learn how to silence my mind. And then it just catapulted from that place.
Wow. And you do this full time. You create these videos. Do you know what the videos are going to be about when you actually start them?
That's interesting you ask. Most times, no. So basically, I made an intention. I made a choice that I wanted this type of channeling to be as pure and authentic as I could make it be. So my conscious mind went into the experience trying to set guidelines for how it would develop. Of course, as you know, we go through life and what we want doesn't always happen. Life kind of has a way of taking us on its own journey. But I felt real strong in myself that I wanted to be authentic. And so I didn't want to prepare. So most times I never chose topics. For my 99 days channels, I did have a list of ideas I came up with. I invited people to submit ideas, and it was as simple as, something mentioned earlier, what are ascended masters? Or how does healing work? Or connect to your heart? Or what is enlightenment? And so topics, just topics, but no information. The idea was I wanted to be a channel. I wanted to know that what was coming through me was not coming from my conscious mind. It was coming from a higher conscious mind, meaning that it wasn't coming from what I read in books or heard in conversations or even put together in my own personal learning experience. I wanted to take my mind and turn it off. And so to do that, I didn't want to prepare, because I knew putting any energy into preparation would make my own mind more busy or busier. And then it would be more difficult for that channeling to come through in a pure, authentic way. So I've purposefully done things with this work to try to facilitate as pure and direct as a channeling experience as I can have. I don't edit any of my videos. I've never gone through my video and say, oh, I made a mistake, let me cut that out, or, oh, I don't like how I look in this video, let me not show it. Every video I've ever recorded, I showed, except for maybe 2 when they're like interrupted. Someone comes in the room or a phone call happens or something, and I have to stop channeling them. But I've had experiences where the phone's ringing and I'm channeling, and I keep channeling through the video. So for me, I just wanted to be real. And I knew that if I could get my fears, my anxieties, my own socially imposed limitations about who I am, how people are going to see me, if I can get that out of the way, I can help make myself more of an empty container. I also saw this as part of my spiritual growth. And it really has been the most powerful part of my life for my own growth. What has happened inside of my awareness, inside of my consciousness, inside of my personal life because of this work has been monumental. It's become my life, my reality. I'm always it's always a little uncomfortable trying to figure out how to frame these, because people come with all these ideas, but I have natural human abilities, we'll call them that I can see things in my mind that most people can't see or believe is impossible. And as you know, we work together, and I can see into your energy body. I can see into your mind. I can see into your emotions. I might not know exactly physically what was happening, because I'm not looking physically, but I'm seeing the energy, and I'm seeing the feeling, the knowing. I'm seeing the content of your energy body and of the mind, we could say. And this happened through that higher self channeling. So when I'm working with someone, I'll like get impressions. I'll see things. Now my mind is very clear, so I can see forms and shapes. It's like a movie reel inside my mind. And I'm learning how this higher consciousness does what it does. Basically, the universe is all interactive, every part of it. We're conditioned to believe my mind is private. It's inside my skull. It's this isolated thing. But we have evidence every moment of our lives that our mind is actually a field of energy connected with everyone else's mind. It's like sometimes, and it's real common, you'll know like someone's going to call me. You think of a friend earlier in the day, and then later on they call you during that day. Well, your mind was thinking of them. Their mind was thinking of you. And there's a connection happening. How did you know that? Only because our minds are like intersections of a web of energy. Like think of a net, like a fisherman's net or a spider web. We are these centers, but there's strands of energy connecting all of us together. And so you can feel what your children are feeling. They walk in the door, you know if they had a good or bad day at school. How do you know it? No one said anything physical to you. No one said a word. Right? There's no physical marks on their face or changes in their expression to let you know what's happening. A real common one is lying and deceit. Right? We can tell when someone's being dishonest. Well, what's changed? Physically, nothing. But emotionally, mentally, we're connected into their vibration in such powerful and subtle ways that we can know what's happening inside another person's world. Now, we can't control what's happening in a world. Like I can't control your mind. You can't control what another person's going to say, right? So there are natural barriers, we could say, set up. So we have our own personal experiences, but we can understand what another person's having, right? And this helps us show that we're all one. Sometimes when I first say, like, I have these natural abilities, people get afraid. Because what is it, and oh my gosh, can he like take advantage of me, can he control my mind, am I like a zombie? It's like, no, it's not like that at all. It's just that I'm more perceptive of how we're all connected. If you're having a bad day, I can feel that, and my mind has awakened to a way that if I chose to, I could look into that and get more information about it. But something else is interesting. When I work with someone, if they don't want me to see something, I can't see it.
Yes.
Yeah, if they don't trust me, their mind puts a wall up because they can do that. And I can't get through that wall. I'm not trying to get through that wall, but I know in order for me to help them, they need to drop that wall of resistance. And you've probably seen that in your own coaching sessions, right? People will display body language even. They'll turn their body away. They'll get uncomfortable. They'll start evading eye contact because you're touching into something that they don't trust you yet seeing.
Yes.
And you know that you have to earn their trust.
Yes.
And then when they're ready to open up this vulnerable area, now you can come into that place, connect there, and say, this is what I see. This is how I think I can help. Here's the emotion. Maybe I'm going to be comforting. Maybe I'll offer you condolences. I'll do something emotionally and mentally and even maybe physically to help them once they allow me to see that part of themselves that's wounded and needs to be healed.